You've got a list somewhere. Maybe it's in your phone, maybe it's in your head, maybe it's an actual notebook that you probably bought specifically to get everything organized, but then you never opened it again. and on that list are things that you were genuinely excited about. A business idea or a fitness goal or some creative project. Something that you probably told somebody about. And it was real for like 4 days.
Yeah, and just so happened that life happened.
Life happened all right. And look, now that thing is just sitting there. It's not like abandoned exactly. You're going to get back to it. There's just a lot going on right now.
Yeah, and it's just not the right time.
It's never the right time. And if you're honest, there's a version of this that's been true for years. You start strong, you lose momentum, you start something else, you lose that too. And somewhere underneath all of that is this quiet question that you don't want to sit with.
Yeah, and that question, it looks like, hey, what is wrong with me?
And look, the answer is absolutely nothing. But we do need to talk about what's actually going on. This is the nature of everything.
This is the nature of everything. Don't stay stuck.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the nature of everything. I'm Bo.
And I'm Clint. And look, today we're getting into something that is going to feel, a little uncomfortable, but it's uncomfortably familiar for a lot of people that's going to be listening. Yeah.
Real familiar, because this is not about laziness. It's not about being a quitter. It's about what happens when we're genuinely ambitious. We're well-intentioned, but life just keeps coming at us faster and faster.
Yeah, it just so happens it doesn't slow down, ever.
It absolutely does not slow down. So look, let's start with an actual picture of who we're talking about today. This is not the person who doesn't care. This is the person who cares a lot. They have real ideas and honest ambitions, and they get all excited about the things, and it's totally legit. And then the week fills up and the kids need something, and work is always going to need something. And then that thing that you were excited about and you were feeling all revved up about, it just gets moved to the bottom of the stack.
Yeah, and it gets moved there like indefinitely.
Mm-hmm. Because you're not a quitter. Like, you never officially actually quit. You just stop without saying so. And that thing lives in the back of your head, and it's just taking up space rent-free.
This is great because there's actual behavioral science behind why this actually takes place. And we've talked about this in the past. The brain is genuinely wired for novelty, right? It likes new things, new ideas, new experiences, because your brain produces a dopamine response from these new things. And so that initial excitement that you feel when something clicks and it's just working, that's a chemical event. And so there's a study out of UCLA, and they've written extensively about how the brain's reward circuitry, like it's built for reward sensations. And these respond to these new ideas and these new experiences the same way it responds to any other dopamine trigger. So starting something new always feels good because neurologically for your brain, it is good, but it's really good in that moment.
That's why starting is the easy part.
Absolutely. But the problem ends up being that that dopamine hit that we get, it doesn't stick around. It doesn't stick around for that middle part.
We always need more.
Yeah. So why this becomes a problem is because that middle part, well, that's where the actual work lives. Like that's where you actually have to do
Right.
all the doing, right? And so by the time you get to that middle part, the brain's already got shiny rock syndrome and is looking for the next new thing to get excited about.
So listen, it's not that you're undisciplined. It's that your brain is doing exactly what brains do.
Mm-hmm.
Life is already full and scattered, and things pull us in all the different directions because new things feel like a possibility. And those old things, it just feels like one more obligation on a list that's probably already too long.
Yeah, to that end, it really does not help us that we live in a global environment that is designed to really exploit that piece of it. And look, Cal Newport, wrote something called Deep Work. And in this, he makes the case that what is called the modern attention economy. This economy is engineered to keep pulling our focus towards these novelty new events that are most urgent and most stimulating, which just so happens the stuff that we're viewing and taking in and consuming all the time, they seem the most urgent and stimulating at the time, but that's almost never what our actual focus is. It's generally not what our primary, like our own project would be. It's just being fed to us differently.
Yeah, I can definitely say that it's almost never urgent, those things that distract me and steal my attention. There's no urgency there for sure.
Not any true urgency. Your brain sees it as urgent because it's the next new shiny rock, but it's not really what your primary focus has been. And so the result of this is that any of us at any time, we're operating at this reactive style mode constantly because we're generally responding to what's in front of us rather than really like building towards the things that are our priorities and things that truly matter to us authentically. Too often these things don't feel like a choice. It feels like an obligation and it feels like it's constant like survival mode.
I think a lot of times it is survival.
Yeah.
Like you're doing the bare minimum on the things that are, those things that get you excited, because other things have deadlines and consequences and somebody that's waiting on you. But your own ideas, your own projects, they don't have all that stuff. Like nobody's following up on that business idea that you have, and nobody's checking in on your fitness goal. And if they do, they're in trouble. I mean, like nobody wants that. I mean, so all those things go to the bottom every time because it feels like it almost has to.
Yeah, that's the sad part of this because what that means is that the stuff that matters to us the most, the things that we want to prioritize personally, we deprioritize those and we look at it, we blame it on the simple like mechanics of a full life because we're busy. And we continue to put that at the bottom of the stack.
Yeah. And look, over time, that really starts to feel like something. I don't even know if it has a name. I mean, it's like some low hum, some general sense of, I should really be farther along by now, or those shame things we talk about, or I should have more going on, or I don't know what happened to the person that was going to be doing that thing. Like, where did they go?
Yeah, I mean, you call it a hum. It does exist. I think it has a name. I think that would be what we would consider cognitive dissonance. I think that's really where that does live, with that amount of restlessness and this frustration that's always in the background and that stuff that's just gnawing at you. And I think it shows itself in resentment and a lack of patience. And I'm not saying that it has to be like hugely dramatic, but it's just there like all the time.
I think a lot of people, they just kind of live with some level of cognitive dissonance. They just sort of absorb it and they just think that that's what adulting feels like, like just being busy and behind and vaguely disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah, that does sound like adulting. You're absolutely right. And it doesn't have to be, but you can't fix what you refuse to name.
And naming it is exactly where we're going to start. Hey, everybody, quick pause. If this is hitting somewhere real for you, the book is where the real work starts. It's not a motivational read, it's a practical one. It walks you through the coin framework in a way that gives you the actual tools for thinking through your own situations, so you can start making real moves instead of just feeling a little bit better about being stuck. Grab it at thenatureofeverything.com, and if you're not following the show yet, do that so that Friday always finds you. All right, so let's run this through Coin, because this is the exact kind of pattern that the framework was built for. Not a crisis, just a quiet, persistent thing that's been costing you a lot more than you realize.
And look, we want to be very clear up front. We're not going to tell you to wake up at 5 a.m, hit that grind.
You're not going to tell me that.
Right? That's not what this is. This is not that. It's just
not even close.
What it is, however, is to start with honesty. Because It's the brutal part in so many ways, but it always has to start with honesty.
Yeah. So confirm it. Here's where we have to slow down for just a second because this step is the one that people rush through and then they kind of wonder why nothing changed.
Yeah, because confirming something, that's not just the same as saying it out loud. It's not simply recognizing it.
And that's the trap. You can't just say some words, but still have 17 reasons floating through your head on why you don't even believe what you just said.
Right.
Like, it's not about words. It's not about whose fault it is. It's not about any of that.
That's true. Because if you are doing those things, then you haven't confirmed anything. It's really just finding a bunch of creative, cool ways to manage yourself around the issue.
Yeah. I mean, real confirmation is when the words in your gut finally agree. Like when you say it and something goes quiet inside and it's not pushing back, that's the moment. And it takes any amount of time. It takes longer than a lot of people think.
It takes plenty of time to just sit there and marinate in it and actually be a part of whatever that is and truly taking an authentic look at it, a realistic, true, honest look at it, and taking that moment to truly name it instead of just kind of, yeah, it's probably something like this and then just move on. It's not going to work that way.
Yeah, because if you just say some words, then you're really just pretending to confirm it. You're pretending to be honest with yourself. And then you're just going to pretend to own it. You're going to pretend some path to make change happen. You're just going to be pretending the whole thing and it's just fake from the beginning and it won't work.
That's true. The confirmation has to be honest enough to be uncomfortable and not complete discomfort, not like rattled out of your cage, but if there's not some discomfort, probably not some growth. And so I think that is one of your better indicators that you are being real and that you're being honest with yourself.
For what we're talking about today, the idea of kind of starting things and never finishing them, a real confirmation isn't just like, I do have some projects that aren't finished. That's just an observation.
Have you seen my garage? Is that what
I must have. I mean, like a real confirmation is, you know what? I have consistently chosen the path of least resistance over my own ambitions. When something got hard, I backed down. When it got busy, I decided that this wasn't important. And I've just been calling that busy.
What an amazing way to word that.
That's a lot of words. I mean, I don't know how practical all those words are, but you get what I'm saying. It's important to really say what's true and not just gloss over it.
Yeah, that's the whole reason of having to sit in it so that you can, I mean, you're talking about like what you said was and I don't know that I'll say it exactly, but it was like your ambitions. I think you said your ambitions require something more than what you can give to, like, to be able to sit in that and recognize to the degree that that's your honesty as I want to be better, but when things get hard and I got to put that work in, then I'm more likely to just give up and, go watch TV. That's honesty. You're absolutely right. That definitely lands differently when you can put it like that instead of just saying, well, I mean, I really want to do this, but I'm just so busy. No, you gave up, and that's different.
But I mean, sometimes we give up. But the deal is that like once your head and your gut actually align and you stop all the reasons why and you decide you actually believe what you're saying, things change. And then you can actually do something with that.
Yes, you get to own that. That's where that important piece comes in, because with all of this owning, it doesn't mean that you're deciding that you're the problem necessarily. I mean, that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
Again, that sounds like blame if you're just the problem, but it can lead you to realizing your ownership in the fact that you do have a role in this. You have agency in this, to where, like, if you're blaming it on the busyness, then like blaming it on the I mean, that makes you feel like you get an out because you're blaming it on the busyness.
Somebody else's fault. All the busy.
Absolutely. But look, that's not to say that the schedule's not real. Parenting and like adulting, all of these things, it does fill up your calendar. It's not that. these things are pulling at you from different directions, like you said, and that is true and that is real. But somewhere in there, you're also making the choices. You're choosing most of these areas. And some of those choices, even the ones that you didn't necessarily focus on, sort of an unconscious choice, these things are keeping a lot of those really important things that you want. That's what's keeping your priority list reversed and keeping all of the things that are important to you stacked on the bottom, like you were talking about.
Yeah. So, I mean, real ownership, again, it's not blame.
Mhm.
It's just being really honest and saying, you know what, I have not prioritized this. And not because I couldn't, I just didn't. I didn't.
That's right.
And I can change that, which
That's
is
true.
the really important part. I can
Absolutely.
change that.
100%. And look, it's not blame. Blame looks backwards. And that does make you the problem. Like if you're only looking backwards and you're blaming, that does make you the problem. However, we want to look at this different and say ownership looks forward.
Yeah.
Ownership looks forward and gives you the leverage of the choices. Not making you the problem, making you the solution.
Look, and that's the whole shift. If it's just some circumstance, you're stuck. It's just like, well, this happened and I'm just stuck here. But if it's a choice or even a pattern of choices that you didn't know that you were making, you can change that.
Absolutely, you can change that. That's the intentionality piece, which is, I mean, great lead in, dude. Well done.
Thanks. I do what I can.
Intentionality, it's not about adding things to the list. It's not about filling your plate up more and giving you more things on the calendar and on the schedule. It's about making those decisions in advance about what actually does matter to you, what your priorities truly are, and then putting a boundary for that, like building small, like real protection pieces around what's important to you, what your priorities are.
It doesn't always have to be big. Pick one thing. Not everything. Everything's probably too much. One thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, everything all at once, it's overwhelming. And to allow yourself to be overwhelmed is also another one of those choices that
Busyness.
that's that busyness, right? And that puts everything back to the bottom of the pile. But to your point, one thing, one specific thing, one specific time, a specific commitment, whether it's a conversation or if it's an action, if it is, getting to the gym, if it's going on a vacation, if it's getting a project knocked out, whatever it is, it's a specific enough goal, and I'm using the word specific a lot. I hope you like it. It's a really great
I
word.
love it.
It's a lot right now, but have that goal that you can actually know whether you hit it or not.
Yeah.
Because if you have a goal that is unstructured and it's just sort of this ethereal, gooey mess of an idea of a goal, then you have no way to actually verify whether or not you've hit this and you've completed this and you can make this a priority. It's just, I mean, at that point, it's just sort of a wishful thinking.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I'm going to work on my project. Like, that's not the plan. Like,
no.
But if you said like, hey, for 30 minutes on Thursday, before anything else blows up, I'm going to work on this. That's specific. Like if you didn't do that, at 10:30 on Thursday, I'm going to do this. If you didn't do that, you would know you didn't do it. Versus if you just have your goal soup flying around in your head going like, at some point, some way, I will do this. Well, you're not right or wrong ever, which is comforting. It's why we do it.
That's indeed. Well, and luckily, there's some research that backs this up. Study out of NYU on what they call implementation intentions. This is essentially the practice of specifying exactly when, where, and how you're going to do something. This study shows that this kind of intentional planning increases follow through, not just by a little. It increases follow through by like 2 or 3 times compared to those folks that just have sort of a wish style goal. This level of specificity is not a small detail. It's actually, according to this research, it's actually the biggest piece of this.
I can relate to this because like I just went out of town, and before I went out of town, I was kind of planning for being out of town, and I had a lot of work to do to get to go out of town in the first place. And so I sat down and I created a list of all of the things I had to do, and I prioritized them like 1 through whatever 11 million. And but I really sat down, and because of all that planning, I knocked it out.
Right.
And now when we're actually recording this, I'm back and I didn't do that. And I sit down to be like back from work and I'm just confused. I'm like, I don't know what I should do. Like, does anybody need anything? Because I don't know what to do next.
Sure. Sure.
But
Well,
I
I mean,
mean,
you get, if you're not careful, if you don't sit in that long enough to prioritize and put those tasks where they belong, then the things that are important to you are inevitably just going to end up on the bottom of that pile.
and so like this podcast is important. So I'm surprised we it didn't get pushed out of the bottom of the pile. But look, that brings us to the idea of changing the nature of everything. When you do plan, when you're intentional, when you make your head and your gut align, all that stuff works together to change the nature of everything. It's not like you have to finish every project you ever start. Some things deserve to stay unfinished. I've had some really dumb ideas. But not every idea that you got excited about might have been your calling,
Sure.
but you kind of know the ones that are.
That makes sense. And yes, for those of you that are listening, Bo has certainly had some really dumb ideas.
Appreciate you so
You're
much.
welcome. I can confirm.
But look, the pattern of starting and drifting again, if that's what you're talking about, but that pattern is what changes, right?
Sure.
When you get really honest about what actually matters. I mean, when we started this podcast, like we were trying, I'm proud that we haven't missed a week in over a year, well, a year
Sure.
and a half. I mean, like
Mhm.
at some point, we were like, hey, we're not kidding around anymore. This has got to be a priority. And there had to be a plan built around it to even make that happen. So
Okay.
if y'all are wondering, we're coining coin all the time.
Absolutely. So here's the deal. What's cool about this is that if you do pay like particular attention and you really put this into perspective, you stop being someone who just has like intentions and you actually start being the person who has the follow through. And that follow through does impact things so immensely for all of us. I mean, that's the shift change that you're really seeking. But what it also leads to is that confidence and that ability to make these intentional like follow throughs. That becomes your practice to where what you attempt next time, that's where that compounding interest starts to build with this as well. Because as you become more successful at this practice, your next attempt is equally, built for like towards success.
Yeah. And look, I love what if questions, right? So, like,
Mhm.
what if you finish that one thing and that's what breaks the pattern? What if one thing you actually complete unlocks that thing where you remember what it feels like to complete something and it really unlocks that inertia within you?
It's funny that you bring that up. I was just listening to Mark Manson, and one of the things that he was talking about is they've done plenty of research about the building of confidence. And it seems a pretty easy concept, but confidence is generally built by not standing in the mirror and pumping yourself up, not the affirmations, not the it's really confidence
Can I
is
get a singing bowl up in here, please?
confidence is built through sticking the landing in its own way. And so the practice then becomes putting these things into motion and following through. You're talking about making the practice no longer backing out and not following through. Maybe you just need that one follow through that shifts the practice, that gives you the confidence, that starts the momentum through action. And boom, that's what changes the nature of everything for you because that's repeatable and you become confident in your ability to repeat that.
Here's what we all need to do today. Let's all name one thing that's just been sitting on the desk, right? It's probably under a stack of bills if you're looking for it. But like, let's take that one that you just keep kind of pushing down and pushing down. Give it 30 minutes this week. Give it a specific time and actually put it on your calendar. Like, be real. Because in this case, I'm going to tell you it has a consequence if you don't. That consequence, it really is quiet, but it's there because you need to interrupt that pattern of pushing it to the bottom.
Sure. If you've been carrying something around that you know what it is and it feels bigger than whatever the calendar is, it's bigger than your schedule problem. It's It's something that you already know you should be doing, but for some reason you can't get the traction, you can't get the motivation, you can't get whatever you're needing. That's exactly what coin sessions are for.
Coin sessions, this is an opportunity to reach out when you're most stuck. And here's what actually happens. We, meaning Bo and Clint, we will sit down with you, just us, and we will ask you some questions that most people in your life are not asking. And it's not to be hard on you, it's to be honest. It's to hold up a mirror. And we use what we know about the coin framework and the way that people get stuck to help you see your own situation more clearly. And maybe for the first time in a long time. It's not like a 40-page plan, but it really does move you and get you unstuck and moving in the right direction.
You can try this alone. And most of us do try it alone, often,
I have.
for a long time. But let's be honest about this too. Let's confirm this, like objectivity about your own situation, the stuff that you're sitting in, to be objective about that. It's really hard to do when it's just your inner voice arguing with your inner voice. Don't get that misconstrued. That's not a character flaw about you. That's just how it works generally.
We've already done this work. Like we do it all the time with each other that use this coin framework to help solve problems, to have more clarity, to get unstuck, to feel more confident. And so we know exactly what stuck looks like. And we know exactly what it looks like to get unstuck. So we'll help you find your unstuck moment. You can get more information about the coin sessions at thenatureofeverything.com.
And also, if you know somebody who's been meaning to get back to that thing, that something, and it's been longer than they want to admit, it's longer than I want to admit, you want to admit, but you know somebody who's carrying this list, and you know somebody who is sitting in that frustration about it. Send them this episode, send them the link to thenatureofeverything.com.
We all need help to get unstuck. So look, that's it. Confirm it, own it, be intentional.
Change the nature of everything and don't stay stuck.
Before you go, just know it's time. Time to connect. Time to change the nature of everything. Find us at thenatureofeverything.com and don't stay stuck.